Whether you want to admit it or not, everyone wants more money. Some people want more money to buy nice clothes and fancy watches, while others simply want to have enough money to not worry about bills every second they're awake. Regardless of your motives, I think we can both agree that if we were millionaires, that many of our money issues would be solved. The question is, how do we become one? Well, what if I told you with just $150 a month, your dream of becoming a millionaire could become a reality? Don't believe me? Let me show you how. When I was growing up, my parents constantly drilled in my head the importance of saving money. They would say things like a dollar saved is $2 earned, and money doesn't grow on trees. And as such, I grew up to become a disciplined saver. However, one day, after saving money for years, I looked at my bank account and thought to myself that by now, I should definitely have more money than I actually do. I mean, I spend very little and basically save every dollar I make, yet my money still doesn't seem to grow. This, my friends, is when I had my first run-in with their good friend inflation. Now, likely neither your parents nor your teachers ever taught you what inflation is or how detrimental it can be to the growth of your money, and as you can tell from my story, my own lack of awareness is holding me back from achieving the financial success I wanted. As such, one day, I looked at what inflation actually was and came to learn that it was defined as a general increase in prices and fall in the purchasing value of money. As soon as this definition resonated with me, I instantly realized why all my savings efforts to date had been so futile. Essentially, every dollar I had been saving based on the advice of my parents was slowly disappearing as I was doing nothing to allow it to keep up with the rise in prices. However, then I had a moment of awakening. In my research, I came to learn that millennials were the most financially oppressed generation in the last 100 years. Now, you would think that this wouldn't be the case given how many tools and resources we have access to these days. For instance, we have the power of the internet where we can have all the information and cat videos we could ever want to watch right at the tips of our fingers. Moreover, we have YouTube University, next day delivery, and the like. However, despite having all these amazing utilities to work with, we are still falling well behind past generations. When it comes to inflation-adjusted GDP, millennials are lagging well behind prior generations, with their great-grandparents experiencing the most growth, followed by boomers, Gen X, and finally us. Moreover, our generation has access to a seemingly unlimited amount of formal education, and while that would have been a privilege for most past generations, quite frankly, it's turned into a curse. Nowadays, the average student graduating college in the United States leaves school with almost $38,000 worth of debt, which is basically one whole year's salary. Speaking of salaries, at least this formal education will be the foundation for a prosperous career, right? Not quite. Entry-level salaries today, adjusted for inflation, are the same as they were in the 1960s, and with salary increases hovering around 3 to 5%, that degree your parents tell everyone you got is far from being a ticket to the financial freedom promised land. In fact, if you think that right now you're being underpaid, then gently tap that like button below so we can cry together about our lackluster raises. So as you can see, getting ahead financially has never been more challenging, and we see this in just about every single financial statistic out there. For instance, polls performed in 2021 showed that just 39% of Americans could pay for a $1,000 emergency expense, and 56% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. If you ask me, a lot of the financial struggles many people are facing these days simply comes down to a lack of proper education, and while I hate to admit it, that's exactly the situation I found myself in too. I was led to believe that if I was responsible with my money and saved as much as I could, I would eventually achieve financial success. However, this was far from being true, and I was becoming more aware of this fact by the day. So what's the solution, you may be wondering? Well, when you unpack this issue a little bit more, you often come across the advice that to sidestep part of the brunt of inflation, you must invest your money, which, if you ask me, is a step in the right direction. I'm sure we've all been told at some point or another that you need to make your money work for you, and one way to do this is to invest it. However, even something as simple as investing is often mishandled, again, not to the fault of those investing, but past generations who have failed to give us a financial education we needed. As such, many of us, simply trying to keep up with all the financial challenges around us, find ourselves succumbing to many common investing mistakes, such as trying to get above average returns by over-concentrating in high-risk investments, being too active in trading, or taking recommendations from strangers on Reddit. However, if we're able to avoid these common investing mistakes and put less reliance on our future financial success on saving alone, then we should be okay in the end, right? Well, this is where we run into a commonly shared notion, such as the one that if we invest just $150 a month, that over time we can become millionaires. Well, in the traditional sense of investing $150 a day into the stock market, I'm here to tell you that this is complete bullshit. Now, I know some people are going to throw every graph and statistic stick a compound interest at me after saying this, but hear me out because this may be the most important financial lesson you are ever going to learn and could be the difference between living a life of penury or a life of real financial wealth. You and many other people have been sold a false dream that if you invest consistently, say $150 a month, for the next few decades that you can be rich. Now, the financials will support this point on the surface, but when we peel back the onion, we can see that the common investing advice to cut coffees and invest that money instead is far from the path to riches that most people claim it to be. Here's how the math actually works out on investing $150 a day en route to becoming a millionaire. If you were to invest $150 a month based on the historical micro return of 7%, in 53 years, you would have $1 million to your name. So far so good, right? Not so fast. There are two incredibly disturbing truths around this model that you need to be fully aware of. First, sure, investing $150 a month for the next 53 years may leave you with a $1 million portfolio, but if you're fortunate enough to be alive by then, you need to ask yourself what kind of utility that money will actually offer you. Chances are, 50 years from now, the only use you'll have for it is to pay your nurse to come bathe you and change your sheets at your retirement home. But to add salt to the wound, this $1 million that you think you'll have won't even actually be worth $1 million. Wondering why? You guessed it, inflation. Assuming an average 3% inflation rate, 53 years from now, that $1 million will only be worth $377,000. So not only will that money be of very little use to you that far down the road, but it will also have about a third of the purchasing power you thought it would. If you like when I expose these common money lies that people are led to believe, then hit that subscribe button below because trust me, there's a lot more of that to come on this channel in the future. So as I hope you're coming to realize, the notion of investing $150 a month into the market to leverage the power of compound interest will not be the ticket to wealth you thought it would be. Now, it would be pretty cruel of me to dump this harsh truth on you without giving you a way to correct course, so let me share with you two ways you can invest $150 a month that will actually give you a chance of achieving the financial success you desire. When it comes to investing for the long term, there's not a lot you actually have control over. For instance, you can't change what the inflation rate is or how well or poor the markets perform. However, the one element in your investing strategy you have full control over is the size of your contributions. This is where I recommend you focus your $150 a month until you can make regular investments that will actually allow you to become a millionaire. That is, a millionaire well before you need a walker to get around. I mentioned earlier that while millennials for the most part are screwed, we do have access to numerous resources that we can use to give ourselves a fighting chance at seeing some degree of financial success. One of the first ways we can do that is to use our $150 a month to upgrade our skills. It's baffling to me that while you can learn just about any imaginable skill on the internet, many of which having the potential to make you incredibly wealthy, most people only use this invaluable resource to stalk their exes or post politically charged content on Facebook. With $150 a month and admittedly probably less, you can cultivate a monetizable skill you can use to start making money online. This is what I did by learning copywriting and animation, and now my freelance work puts a few extra $1,000 into my pocket every month. Now, I know some people aren't going to want to work more than they already do and are enticed by the thought of making passive income, so let me address this point now. With $150 a month, you can easily kickstart a lucrative business. Simply divide up the work and complete what you can while outsourcing the rest with the funds you have available. That's what I do with my YouTube channels. I outsource the design work while doing the rest myself. While I can only speak to my own experiences, these two methods alone make me thousands of extra dollars a month, and quite frankly are much more worthwhile investments to make with $150. Now, assuming you are able to make this daily investment work in your favor by using it to build up new income streams, how will this make you a millionaire? Good question. When you actually have a reasonable amount of money to invest, then and only then should you rely on compound interest to take you to the financial freedom promised land. Here's an example to illustrate what I mean by this. Given that you're now making more money every month, you can afford to invest a meaningful amount of money. For instance, say you invest $2,000 a month, which is income solely made through your newly acquired skill or business. At a 7% rate of return in 30 years, you would have $2.5 million to your name, which even after inflation is factored in, will still make you a millionaire. Therefore, is it possible to become a millionaire with just $150 a month? Of course. However, what no one, but me that is, tells you is that there is an important intermediate step of making more income that must be met if you actually want to pull this off. However, the sad part is that making this extra income can still be incredibly challenging for people, especially if they don't have any money to get started, which is why in this next video, I'll share with you how to make thousands of extra dollars a month with absolutely no money required. So click on over and let's get started.